Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'll be your host, Nick, and today we're going to recap the Dodgers Marlins series that just ended about 10 minutes ago. The Dodgers take 2 of 3 from the Marlins, so they win the series down in Miami. Pretty good series. I was at 2 of the 3 games, so I will have more footage and videos coming out for you guys about that. I was at Game 1 and Game 2. I was not at Game 3, obviously. Before we get into that and all of the games, you can get this podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you prefer to watch. You can follow us on all social media, TikTok, Instagram, X, at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow my personal X at Talking Blue Nick, live tweeting throughout the games and other stuff. Follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. Been posting a lot of stuff on Reddit. People love talking about the Dodgers on there. So, before we get into the games, we'll do some injury reports. There's a lot to go over. So, earlier in the series, Teoscar got injured in Game 1. I was actually at that game, like I said, and it was noticeable when he didn't go out to right field. Chris Taylor went in to replace him. It first came out as a hamstring injury, then it is now a groin or abductor. Originally, from Dave Roberts' first reactions, it seemed pretty bad, but then he did come out today and say it's looking a lot better. It could only be a couple weeks, so that's good. Originally, it was looking like we may not see him until sometime in June. Right before this game, Evan Phillips goes back on the IL. I believe it was forearm discomfort, so that's not very good to hear. If it is forearm, forgive me because it just happened. Tommy Edman is not likely to come off the IL for the Arizona games. I explained this in my preview series for the Diamondbacks, which will come out after this. I had to record that earlier because of my schedule, so forgive me, it's a little all over the place. In there, I talked about how they had mentioned Tommy Edman could come off right when he was eligible, but right now it's looking like he will not. The only other injury really is Kershaw. He continues to progress well in the minor leagues, and Sunday will likely be his last rehab start, and then he will probably pitch a week from there. I think that will be against the Angels. So that's all for the injuries. Let's get into the first game. This game was played on Monday, May 5th. Jack Dreyer gets the start. Of course, Ben Casparius would come in. We'll get to him. Jack Dreyer versus Sandy Alcantara. Like I said, I was at this game. Right away in the top of the first inning, Teoscar Hernandez gets the Dodgers on the board with a double into left field. Dodgers go up 1-0. We'll skip ahead to the third inning. Freddie Freeman hits a 2-run homer to right field, puts the Dodgers up 3-0. Later on, Shohei Ohtani, he homers to right field, an absolute missile. I got both of those home runs on video, and you'll see in my video that comes out, I predicted Freddie before the game to go deep. So Shohei now goes deep. It's now 5-0 Dodgers in the 5th. Later on, Hyeseong Kim, this was his first major league start. He gets a single, bloops in a single to center field. Dodgers go up 6-0. Later on, Connor Norby would get the Marlins on the board, 6-1. But then a Chris Taylor double down the left field line makes it 7-1 Dodgers. Later on, Agustin Ramirez hits a bomb to left field, 7-4 is now the score. And that score would hold. Tanner Scott actually would get the save. Kirby Yates would actually get the save. Jack Dreyer for 1.1, Ben Casparius for 4, Alex Vessier for 2/3 of an inning, Evan Phillips for 1. Yondris Gomez comes in. He gets through only 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 3 earned runs. Gomez was 1/3. Tanner Scott for 2/3. He came in for Gomez. And then Kirby Yates for the 1 inning gets the save. So more offense for the Dodgers. They win by a score of 7-4. We are mainly going to talk about Ben Casparius. Ben Casparius came in the second inning. Jack Dreyer got through 4 batters. I'll talk about Ben Casparius. He was pretty good in the game. His final line, as the guy who gets the bulk of the innings, 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. He did that on 70 pitches. So we'll break down Ben Casparius. Won't go too deep into him, but like I said, through 70 pitches, he's got a really good 4-pitch mix, 4-seamer, cutter, slider, curveball. He threw a decent amount of all of those, 22 fastballs, 17 cutters, 17 sliders, and then 14 curveballs. Kind of goes 4-seamers to both hands, both sides of the plate, both batters. Cutters is mainly to lefties, sliders to righties, and then curveballs to lefties, which is pretty traditional. But he got 4 whiffs on his 4-seam fastball, 1 on the cutter, 4 on the slider, 3 on the curveball. So 12 whiffs in 4 innings. That's pretty good for Ben Casparius. He's just been amazing for the Dodgers. Their bullpen would be in much worse shape without him. It's probably likely at some point he does get a start. He has gotten 1 start, but maybe not. The Dodgers do seem to like him in this role, multi-inning. Bulk guy. He's just going to be such a weapon for the Dodgers. His fastball was averaging 96.9 miles an hour, so basically 97. He maxed out at 98.3. So his fastballs continue to kind of tick up. We talked about that earlier in the year, how his fastball had ticked up in spring, and he's kind of maintained that. 2024, he averaged 95.5. This year, he's averaging 96. So obviously not a huge difference, but it is noticeable throughout the games. There are some times where he really is sitting 95 to 97, touching 98. He's even gotten up to 99 at times. He's so nasty, and if you just look at his Baseball Savant page, of course, they do the percentile rankings. Red is good, blue is bad. It's a ton of red on his page. I won't go through all of them, but a lot of the noticeable ones. He's in the 88th percentile in chase percentage, 76th percentile in whiff percentage, 78th percentile in K. Also in the 87th percentile in walk percentage. And he's in the 96th percentile in hard hit percentage. So he gets chase, he gets whiffs, gets strikeouts, doesn't walk anybody, and doesn't allow many hard hit balls. Now he's not a ground ball pitcher. He's only in the 9th percentile in ground balls. So he's a fly ball pitcher. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. You prefer your pitcher to be a ground ball pitcher because you want the ball on the ground, because fly ball pitchers may tend to give up home runs. But he obviously makes it work. On the year, Ben Casparius, in 25 2/3 innings, has a 2.81 ERA, and he's got 28 strikeouts. He's got a 1.05 whip. And like I said, his ERA is 2.81. His expected ERA is 2.83. So there's no luck with Ben Casparius. The numbers that you're seeing are true. An expected batting average against of 236 and an expected slug of 369. Opponents are hitting 172 on his 4-seam fastball. They are hitting 265 on his slider, which you'd like to be a little bit lower, but still it doesn't mean it's getting hammered. His cutter is very good. It's got a batting average against of 208, and then his curveball has an expected batting average of 273. Both of the pitches, the slider and the curveball, which you would like to see a little bit lower. Both of the expected numbers are slightly lower. So the slider is 265, expected 246, and then the curveball is 273, expected 238. So those 2 pitches aren't dominant from him, but they are better, and he's gotten a little bit unlucky with those. And his curveball has a whiff percentage of 36.8, so almost 39%. The 4-seamer's got a 30% whiff rate. The slider's got 31. And then the cutter has a whiff percentage of 22.6, which most of the time cutters aren't used as a swing and miss pitch. So all of his pitches get swing and miss minus the cutter. None of them get hit very hard. He's just been so dominant for the Dodgers. He's going to be such a huge weapon come the postseason. Obviously, it's a long ways away, but you never know what the Dodgers' pitching situation is going to be come October. Obviously, we learned that last year. And hopefully they have 3 or 4 starters available that are guys you can trust. But if not, it's nice to know that if Ben Casparius is healthy, you'll have a guy that you could at least maybe start, but at the very least, if the Dodgers have to use their bullpen a lot, which they tend to do in the postseason, he's going to be a guy that can knock down a lot of innings for them. And again, not just be a guy that you're using for innings, but a guy that you want out there for multiple innings because he's so good. It's kind of insane because he was a guy that wasn't a top prospect, just kind of came up through the minor leagues, kept getting better, starter, used him as a reliever. Now it's been back and forth, mostly reliever, but can't say enough about Ben Casparius. He's been nasty. He's also one of those IVB guys, induced vertical break. In this game, his fastball was averaging 18 inches of induced vertical break, and it maxed at 19, so that's very good. So he's got 4 great pitches. He pounds the strike zone while also getting chase and swing and miss. You can't really ask for much more from your pitcher. So Ben Casparius is a legend, and we were on him very early in spring training. I talked about how much I liked him. I liked the stuff in crease. Hopefully he stays healthy because he's got a bright future ahead of him and a lot of big innings in the postseason, no doubt. So then just quickly, the offense, shine a light on them. The Dodgers offense continued to perform throughout this series. They had 13 hits in this game. Shohei obviously had the laser home run. Mookie actually had 2 hits, which is nice. Freddie had the 2 hits with the home run. Kike actually comes off the bench and also gets 2 hits. Chris Taylor had a double RBI, so that's nice. Andy Pages had 2 hits. Conforto finally gets a hit. And then Hyeseong Kim, who gets his first start, we'll talk about him after game 2. He gets 2 hits. You saw his speed play a factor. So when I was at the game, there was a lot of Korean fans that were so hyped to see Kim. A lot of people have been really excited to see him, myself included. I've kind of talked about him before, even though there wasn't much to talk about because he was in the minors. So I'm excited to finally talk about him. So we'll go to game 2. This game was played on Tuesday, May 6th. Tony Gonsolin versus Cal Quantrill. Second time we get to see Gonsolin. Like I said, I was also at this game. In the first inning, Dodgers get on the board once again. Freddie Freeman with an RBI single into right field. Later on, we'll skip ahead to the 5th inning. Liam Hicks, the catcher for the Marlins, puts the Marlins on top with a 2-run homer. It makes it 2-1 Marlins. The Dodgers would respond right away. Shohei Ohtani leads off the 6th inning with a home run. An absolute bomb. Place went crazy when we were there. Later on, Freddie Freeman would come up. He hits a home run to dead center. Him and Freddie just absolutely carried this series, and we'll talk about them. In the 6th inning, though, the Marlins would respond. Connor Norby doubles to tie up the game 3-3. Then Dane Myers, who kills the Dodgers, singles to make it 4-3 Marlins. So they go right back on top. But the Dodgers would respond again in the 7th inning. Hyeseong Kim was on base. Ohtani doubles into the right field corner. Kim scores all the way from first. He was flying around the bases, so it's a tie game. But unfortunately, the Dodgers wouldn't score in the 9th and the 10th. This game goes extra innings. 10th inning comes along. Dodgers actually brought in a 5-man infield. Nobody out. Jesus Sanchez hits a missile up the middle. Walk-off single, so the Marlins win. Final score is 5-4. Tony Gonsolin goes 5, Luis Garcia for 1, Vesia for 1, Bonda for 1, Tanner Scott for 1, and then J.P. Feierheisen. I'm sorry, I think that's how you say his name. He's been with the Dodgers before. He came in for that 9th inning, didn't record an out. He gives up the last run for the Dodgers. Of course, it's unearned because it's the ghost runner rule. So Dodgers lose, which is unfortunate. I've actually been to multiple Dodgers walk-off losses before, so I've seen it happen. But it was still a fun game to go to, and when the Dodgers are playing really well, right, like they are right now, and the bats are going well, I definitely didn't leave, discouraged or I'm nothing worried about the Dodgers or anything like that. It was still a fun game. So, of course, the Dodgers had 8 more hits. Weren't as good with runners in scoring position in this game. That's what kind of hurt them in the end. They left a lot of guys on base. Of course, Ohtani and Freddie continued to rake and kind of carry this series. Will Smith also had 2 hits. But other than that, Muncy was 0 for, Conforto 0 for, Miguel Rojas, who got the start for Mookie, didn't get a hit. Mookie then pinch hit but didn't get a hit. James Outman, who got called up. Of course, Teoscar was on the IL, so Outman comes up. He didn't get a hit. Kim does get 1 hit, so that's nice. And Andy Pages, who stays hot. But the bottom of the order kind of didn't do much in the game, and that was what kind of hurt them. So we'll just talk about Tony Gonsolin quickly, kind of shine some light on him. He's been pretty dominant. It's kind of funny that his ERA is like slightly over 4, but it doesn't show how good he's actually been. So Tony Gonsolin, his final line, 5 innings pitched, gives up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, which were on that home run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. So Tony Gonsolin, we talked about when he had his first start a week ago. He had 17 whiffs in that game, had 9 strikeouts. In this game, he has 18 whiffs, 8 strikeouts. So Tony Gonsolin, far through 11 innings pitched in his first 2 games, has 17 strikeouts and has 35 whiffs. So a lot of swings and misses from Tony Gonsolin. And one of the key storylines to this outing from Tony Gonsolin was actually his velocity. So we talked about, I gave you all the information on Gonsolin after his first game. I gave you the whole breakdown about his velocity. He was never a guy who threw crazy hard, but did have pretty good velocity early in his career. But it quickly started to dip down. He was more around 92, 93. He was around 92.5 to 93 last time. Like I said, did top out at 95 a couple times. So his velocity was definitely up, and it was up even more in this start. He averaged 94.1. So he didn't average 92, 93. He was averaging 94. And he actually maxed out at 96.8, which is not up to 97 on the TV. Like I said, at the stadium, he hit 95 and 96 a bunch of times. So velocity was definitely up. Like I said, 18 swings and misses. So he had 5 on the 4-seamer, 7 on the splitter, 5 on the slider, and then 1 on the curveball. So he continued to mix around the whiffs on all 4 of his pitches. The 4-seamer has been looking really good, which is nice. So he only throws 82 pitches. Again, looked really good. Bunch of swing and miss. Did have 2 walks in the game. We talked about last start how he didn't have any walks. So, like I said, it's interesting how his ERA right now is at 4.9, but it's not indicative to how good he's been. He's another splitter guy, which is fun to watch. I haven't been able to watch too much of him. Obviously, I was at the game, but watching the game is a little different than on TV. It's harder to have like a breakdown when you're watching from TV when you're watching from the stadium because there's so much going on. And then I actually didn't watch his performance last week live, so I'm looking forward to watching his next start from start to finish. But Tony Gonsolin, I'll be honest, when he was coming back from Tommy John, I just kind of thought of him as like, hopefully he can just give the Dodgers innings and kind of relieve some of the pitching staff because they've had to rely on the bullpen. With these first 2 outings, I know it's against the Marlins, so you'd like to see him pitch against a better offense at some point, but regardless of the opponent, the stuff, the swing and miss, like he just looks better. It's the best he's looked since 2022. And in terms of his stuff, it's actually the best he's looked since probably 2020 or something like that. So he's actually gone from, in my mind, he was just coming back, going to be an innings eater. It was just nice to have another arm. He's looking valuable to the Dodgers. Obviously, it's way too early to see, like, does he get a postseason start or something like that? But with some of the guys going down, I like his swing and miss right now, and I like his stuff. I like the way he attacks the zone, and I like the way that he uses all 4 of his pitches, and he uses it to every batter. He'll use the splitter to righties and lefties. He'll use the slider to righties and lefties, the curveball to righties and lefties, obviously the 4-seamer. So I'm really excited for Tony Gonsolin. He looks like a guy that is going to be, like I said, in the 4th or 5th spot, and he's going to have really good numbers. So that's just super exciting for Tony Gonsolin, and good for him to come back and look this good. This game, of course, was played on April 7th, Wednesday. The one game I did not go to. Landon Knack actually gets the start. Dodgers were held scoreless, and the game was scoreless until the 6th inning. Freddie Freeman, like he did all series long, singles into left field to put the Dodgers up 1-0. This was followed after an Ohtani triple. Later on in the 7th inning, Hyeseong Kim hits a ground ball to right field. That brings in James Outman, so an RBI single for Kim. Dodgers go up 2-0. Then a bases-loaded walk by Mookie makes it 3-0. Then, of course, Freddie Freeman triples into right center field, clears the bases, makes it 6-0 Dodgers, so they break open the game. Andy Paz would then single to make it 7-0. Then later on in the 9th inning, James Outman, good for him, homers to dead center, a 3-run homer to make it 10-0. And then the Marlins would tally on in the 9th, but the Dodgers would win by a score of 10-1. So Dodgers win the second game in the series. They take 2 out of 3 in Miami to win the series. Only used 2 pitchers in this game. Landon Knack gets the start and the win. He goes 5 innings. And then Matt Sauer comes back to pitch 4 innings, close out the game. Of course, not a safe opportunity, but Landon Knack for 5. He gives up 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. So a nice performance by Landon Knack. And then Matt Sauer, 4 innings, 1 hit. He gives up 1 run, but it's not earned, and then 1 walk, also 4 strikeouts. So if you combine their pitching performance, 9 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, only 2 walks, no earned runs. So those 2 guys team up for a nice pitching performance, and obviously the offense was the story once again. Hyeseong Kim goes 5 for 12 in his first 3 starts. Played really well. It was kind of like the talk of the week. And Ohtani and Freddie, I guess you could say. I just wanted to give my thoughts on him. So he, of course, came up when Tommy Edman went down in the Braves series. Didn't play. I kind of talked about how I thought it was a little weird that they kind of came out and said they didn't expect him to play much. But obviously they let him play in Miami. So I think Hyeseong Kim could be really key to the Dodgers and really valuable. So a lot of people are excited about him. Like I said, he obviously goes 5 for 12. His story is very interesting. So when the Dodgers signed him in the offseason, they still had Gavin Lux. So it was very obvious that they were going to trade him. They eventually did. Looked like Kim was slated to be the second baseman. But then in spring, it was obvious that he needed to go through some swing changes and stuff like that. So the Dodgers actually came out and were debating if they were going to send him to AAA to start the year, which was a little surprising to me. He inevitably did get sent down to AAA, so that's why we obviously didn't see him until May. He was known as a guy to not have a very great bat, but he's super athletic, really fast, and he's always been a really good defender. Now, in the minor leagues, he was playing multiple positions, mostly a second baseman, but he did play some time at short, and he also saw some time in center field. So it's kind of like another version of Tommy Edman. Played really well in AAA. Started off the year with an OPS in the mid-800s. I think that went down to the high 700s. People should temper their expectations. I don't think he's going to be an above league average hitter or anything like that. But I do think Kim has a chance to really change the outlook of the Dodgers. And I know it's kind of funny to say just because it's one player and it's a player who's not necessarily supposed to be like a superstar or anything like that. But a couple of podcasts ago, I talked about the Dodgers defense and stuff like that and how the defense to start the year was definitely below average, but I thought it could get better. And I think one of the ways is Hyeseong Kim. So I mentioned how the Dodgers have a lot of moving parts, a lot of guys who play multiple positions and stuff like that. And a lot of it is prevalent on who's hot at the time, who's in the lineup, who's playing where. And I kind of mentioned how with Andy Pages becoming hot, that keeps him in the lineup more. And he's obviously an outfielder, so that means when Tommy Edman's in the lineup, he's going to be playing more infield, which then means you have guys like Conforto and Hernandez in the corners who aren't good defenders. So right now, Hyeseong Kim has a chance with Tommy Edman down to show that he deserves to stand. The Dodgers might just treat it as it's a good learning experience for him to come up here, but he still has a lot to learn, so they just might send him back down anyways. But I think he should stay up and get a lot of run at second base. Now, maybe the Dodgers would like to platoon him where he doesn't necessarily face left-handed pitching. I'd be okay with that. But he looks really athletic. He looks really fast. He looks like a really good he looks like he could be a really good number 9 hitter. And when it comes to the defense, so earlier in the year, it's really early, we know, but Mookie has graded well at shortstop. Again, I haven't gone too much into his defense. I'm probably going to do that in a couple series, but his defense has actually been pretty good at shortstop. It's been actually better than pretty good. He's been very good. And I think that when the team is healthy, now obviously Teoscar just went down and Tommy Edman just went down, but when those guys come back, if you're able to put Kim at second base, obviously you have Mookie at short, and then I think you have Edman in center, and then Pages and Hernandez in the corners. The Dodgers kind of would, when Pages would play left field, they would have Hernandez stay in right field. I think that's just because they would like Hernandez to stay in right field because that's where he's going to play most of the time, so they didn't really want to switch them around. But if it comes down to the point where there's not really any platoons going on and you have those guys in the outfield at the same time, they would probably switch at some point because Pages is a much better defender than Teoscar, and you would like to have your better defender in right field than left field. And he's got a better arm than Teoscar. Now, Teoscar also has a pretty good arm, so they could just leave them. So that's not really a big issue. But I think that Kim could play second, Mookie at short. You have Tommy Edman in center, and then maybe Pages in right and Teoscar in left. At that point, you really only have two bad defenders on the field in Muncy and Conforto. And again, I don't necessarily look at Muncy as a bad defender. He's not good by any means. I've kind of talked about how I think he goes through stretches at third where he's kind of struggling, but then there are times when he locks in and he makes a lot of the plays. So he's by no means an above average defender. I think he's at best an average defender. And Teoscar, again, is definitely a bad outfielder, but he makes up for a lot of it with his good arm. Hyeseong Kim could be so valuable for the Dodgers if he hits at the bottom of the order. If he could just be a league average bat and kind of be electric on the base path like we saw him, and then he plays great defense at second base, I think the Dodgers could go from an average to below average defense to one of the better defenses. Again, they won't be the best defense or maybe like a top 5, but when you have as great an offense as they do and great pitching, you don't have to have the best defense in the game. You obviously just need guys to make the routine plays like we saw them do in the World Series. And Tommy Edman's a great center fielder. Pages has been great in center field, and he's probably would be even better in right field. So I just think Kim could unlock a lot for the Dodgers where it would help the defense. And if he can prove that he can be an everyday bat at the big league level, at the very least against right-handed pitching, it brings them another speed element at the bottom of the order and an athletic element. So he just seems like a good guy. He's always smiling. He brings an energy. I really think he could be like a spark for the team, especially at the bottom of the order. So hopefully Kim proves a lot while he's up. Hopefully they continue to give him a shot until Tommy Edman is back. Now, because Teoscar Hernandez went on the IL, he probably won't go down when Tommy Edman comes back. So he probably bought himself more time with Teoscar going down. So hopefully he makes do of it. He obviously did a great opening act. We saw him on the base passes in Atlanta, and he looked good. We continue to see that in Miami. Like I said, he went 5 for 12 at the plate, 2 RBIs. So if he could just be a decent contact bat who can hit close to league average. I mean, again, in the loaded lineup, if you have one hitter at the bottom of the order who's not above league average, it would be hard for the Dodgers because they have so many good hitters. But if he provides value with his defense and his base running, you're gonna really appreciate that. I really like Hyeseong Kim. I think he could provide a lot for the Dodgers. I hope he gets a shot, and I think he could make the team better defensively on the bases, and he could really deepen the lineup. So we'll see when a lot of his numbers get updated, especially on Baseball Savant. I want to see his defensive metrics and a lot of his base running metrics. So that's really good to see. Go Hyeseong Kim. So lastly, before we finish, we'll just talk about Freddie and Ohtani. I'm not going to do breakdowns on them because I've done that before, but they're just turning into like such a crazy tandem. Obviously, Mookie is a part of it. They're a big three, but Mookie somewhat cooled down in the series or continued to play good. It's kind of weird because in Game 1 he had 2 hits, but then in Game 2 he didn't start. He just got the 1 pinch hit. And then in this game he gets no hits. So his OPS right now is at 773. So if he continues to heat back up against the Diamondbacks, his numbers will start to get in a better place. But Freddie and Shohei, They were amazing this weekend series. And again, Freddie, if he doesn't qualify for all the leaderboard statistics because he would miss some time. But if you go on Fangraphs and you lower the qualified plate appearances to 100, the Dodgers have two of the best hitters in the game in their lineup. Freddie Freeman has a 202 weighted runs created plus, which is third in all of baseball. Shohei Ohtani has a 176 weighted runs created plus, which is fifth in all of baseball. Not to mention Teoscar is 17th, and then Will Smith is 28th. So four of the top 30 hitters in the game, and then Freddie Freeman and Shohei. Freddie Freeman is hitting .355 with a .430 on base, a .688 slug, and a 1,118 OPS and 1,100 OPS. And then Shohei Ohtani is hitting .296 with a .399 on base, .607 slug, and a 1,006 OPS. So both of them have an OPS above 1,000. Freddie's hitting .355. He's got 8 home runs already so far this year, which is key for Freddie because the last couple of years he hasn't hit for too much power. Shohei's got 10 home runs. He's also got 10 stolen bases. He obviously tripled in this game. So they've been the Dodgers' two best hitters by far, and they've been two of the best 5 hitters in the sport to start the year. They've been so much fun to watch, and they're red hot going into this weekend series against the Diamondbacks. So look for them to continue that. They're just so red hot right now. It's so fun to watch. Got to see them hit multiple home runs this weekend in person, so that was really fun. They are two of the best left-handed hitters in the game right now because Judge is the best hitter so far this year. Pete Alonso's been second, and then Jonathan Aranda of the Rays has actually been fourth. He's a left-handed hitter. So it's been nuts what they've been doing so far, and they deserve so much credit for how amazing they've been offensively, especially Freddie, because we saw this from Shohei last year. Freddie's, like I said in a couple podcasts ago, has been ticking up, and Freddie Freeman might actually be on his way to his best year as a Dodger so far, which says a lot because he's had a couple of years where they were some of the best of his entire career. So that's it for this episode of Talking Blue. Thank you guys for listening. A really fun series in Miami. It was fun that I got to go to 2 of the games. Dodgers will go to Arizona. They will go for 4. Diamondbacks are a good team, so look for the Dodgers to at least split that series, hopefully win the series. So, as always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media. At Talking Blue Pod. Follow myself on X at Talking Blue Nick. Keep a lookout for a lot more shorts coming out, a lot more Instagram Reels, X videos, TikToks, and all that stuff. You can follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. We'll see you guys at the conclusion of the Diamondbacks Dodgers series. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good day.